Here are the top stories for today, January 28, 2021. Vaccine Czar Secretary Carlito Galvez and Health Secretary Francisco Duque said they are willing to get the first shot of COVID-19 vaccines. A former youth rebel attacks UP professors in the recruitment of students in CPP-NPA. The government has issued a diplomatic protest over China's new Coast Guard law. And a delivery man of a known shopping platform ended up marrying one of his customers. Good day, I'm William Theo. Welcome to the PNA Newsroom. Vaccine Czar Secretary Carlito Galvez Jr. cited the important role of the local government units in achieving a successful rollout of the nationwide immunization program. The details from Laid Kabagani.
National Policy Against COVID-19 Chief Implementer and Vaccine Czar Secretary Carlito Galvez Jr. said planning and preparation carried out by the local government units are key to achieving a successful nationwide immunization program. Galvez, together with the COVID-19 Coordinated Operations to Defeat Epidemic or CODE team, visited various local governments such as Taguig, Makati, and Pasig to discuss the local situation report on COVID-19 and vaccination roadmap strategic framework. He said he is pleased with the readiness and preparation that is being carried out by many cities. In Pasig City, Mayor Vico Soto earlier urged his constituents to get inoculated for their own safety. He also emphasized that the COVID-19 vaccine is safe as long as it is approved by the Food and Drug Administration. In Makati City, Mayor Abigail Binay also urged her constituents to trust the national government's efforts to come out with the best COVID-19 vaccination program. Binay said they are targeting to inoculate 500,000 of its residents by the third quarter of this year. She said around 30,000 of the city's medical frontliners and other healthcare workers will be initially vaccinated by February. The city government will also include non-residents but workers in Makati in the inoculation program. Meanwhile, Secretary Galvez lauded Taguig City as a model city in terms of its effective response to the pandemic. Taguig was among the first city in Metro Manila to launch drive-through COVID-19 testing facility early last year. It also has the lowest number of active COVID-19 cases with only 5 cases per 100,000 residents. The CODE team continuously conducts their visit in a bid to boost the government's anti-COVID-19 efforts. Quezon City is among the many LGUs who have signed tripartite agreements with the national government and AstraZeneca company to purchase COVID-19 vaccines. It has increased its initial order from 750,000 doses of vaccine to 1.1 million doses. Galvez lauded the move, specifically mentioning the plan of the city government to increase the number of its healthcare workers who will be administering the vaccine by 2 to 3 times. He said this measure will enable the country to immediately achieve herd immunity. Quezon City is now finalizing the list of its vaccine sites. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Laid Kabagani.
The first batch of COVID-19 vaccines is estimated to arrive next month. Health Secretary Francisco Duque III said the target date of arrival of the vaccine is on first week of February and vaccination will commence the following week or early March. Vaccine Czar Secretary Carlito Galvez Jr. meanwhile said that once the vaccines arrive, they will prioritize the inoculation of about 1 million healthcare workers and frontliners. He said they are negotiating to get 200,000 to 500,000 doses of COVID-19 vaccines from AstraZeneca and Pfizer, along with 500,000 doses from Sinovac. However, Galvez said he cannot divulge the negotiated price of the vaccines as part of the confidentiality disclosure agreement. He said breaking the agreement might result in the termination of any contract and may consequently affect the negotiations with other vaccine manufacturers. Several government officials expressed their desire to get the first shot of COVID-19 vaccine to prove that it is safe and effective. The details from Benj Bondog.
Vaccine Czar Secretary Carlito Galvez Jr. and Health Secretary Francisco Duque III said they are willing to get the first shot of COVID-19 vaccines once these are available in the country. Galvez said he's ready to get inoculated with any brand of COVID-19 vaccine that would be acquired by the national government, as these would undergo stringent regulatory procedures. Duque is also willing to get vaccinated regardless of brand to show the public that these vaccines have been carefully evaluated and are proven safe. PCOO Secretary Martin Andanar also expressed willingness to be among the first to receive the vaccine to encourage Filipinos to get inoculated once the government starts its mass immunization drive. Andanar said he, along with other PCOO officials, may be among the first to get the COVID-19 vaccine to prove its efficacy and safety. He also cited the need for media workers to be prioritized in the rollout of the COVID-19 vaccine, saying they are also considered as frontliners. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Ben Shbondok.
The national government is stepping up its mitigation efforts to address the impact of climate change. This after reports show that the Philippines is among the nations that have been most affected by extreme weather from 2000 to 2019. According to German Watch, the Philippines ranked 4th out of 180 countries most affected by extreme weather in the last 2 decades. The study revealed that around 317 extreme weather events have been recorded in the Philippines, the highest among the top 10 nations with high scores in the Climate Risk Index. Presidential spokesperson Harry Roque said this no longer came as a surprise, as the Philippines has long been identified as one of the countries most vulnerable to climate hazards. Roque said the country's vulnerability to extreme weather prompted Duterte to sign in 2017 the Paris Agreement on climate change. Duterte last year also urged all parties in the United Nations General Assembly to make good and honor their commitment to fight climate change. Mayor Lino Cayetano said he prefers to keep Metro Manila under General Community Quarantine or GCQ to further contain the COVID-19 pandemic. This after Metro Manila mayors convened on Tuesday to come up with a recommendation regarding the quarantine classification starting February 1. Metro Manila is currently placed under GCQ until the end of the month. Under GCQ, only people aged 15 to 65 years old are allowed to leave their homes. Cayetano said it would be better if the National Capital Region maintains its status to contain any possible surge. He said the Metro Manila Council, through General Manager Jojo Garcia, will make the official announcement soon. Still to come, a former youth rebel tags UP professors in the recruitment of students in CPP-NPA. And a lawmaker is seeking for a congressional inquiry on the rising prices of pork. More on these when the PNA Newsroom continues.
Alamin kung paano ang tamang pagsusuot ng surgical mask. Una, hawakan ang mask sa strap at siguruhing natatakpan nito ang inyong bibig at ilong. Tandaan, ang may kulay na bahagi ng mask ang dapat nasa labas. Ito lamang ang tamang paraan ng pagsuot nito. Ihulma ang nose piece o maliit na metallic strip ayon sa hugis ng inyong ilong. Iwasan ang paghawak sa inyong ilong at bibig. Kung marumi na ang mask, hubarin ito gamit ang strap at itapon ito sa isang basurahan. Siguruhin ang maayos na paghuhugas ng kamay gamit ang sabon at tubig. Ang surgical mask ay dapat gamitin ng mga pasyenteng may sakit sa baga o mga taong mayroong ubo, sipon at lagnat, mga nag-aalaga sa mga may sakit, at mga healthcare at frontline workers. Maaari ring magsuot nito kung kayo ay pupunta sa matataong lugar. Basta't sama-sama at laging handa, kaya natin to! Isang paalala mula sa DOH, PCOO, KBP at ng himpilang ito.
A former youth rebel tagged some professors of UP in the recruitment of students into the Communist Party of the Philippines' New People's Army. Ivy Lynn Corpin alias Kared said she was recruited to join an organization without knowing it and was directly under the regional committee of the CPP-NPA.
Ang recruitment hindi lang nananatili sa UP. Sa lahat ng state universities and colleges, may recruitment na nangyayari sa buong bansa. Nung pumasok ako sa PUP, wala akong alam sa aktivismo, wala akong alam sa usapin ng CPP-NPA, NDF. Pumili ako ng organization na alam kong hindi ganito yung nakikita ko sa mga daan na nagrarally-rally, ganyan. Yung Lakbay Cagayan Valley, may mga namumuno at humahawak sa amin. Ang pinagkaiba lang, ang humahawak sa amin ay hindi from PUP. Ang humahawak sa amin ay mga professors ng UP Diliman at UP Manila. Tapos April 2012, doon ako in-invite bilang maging KK, kandidatong kasapi ng CPP.
Chief Presidential Legal Counsel Salvador Panelo expressed support for President Rodrigo Duterte's decision to allow limited face-to-face classes for medicine and allied health science students. In his commentary show, Counterpoint, aired on the state-run PTV4, Panelo said medical students need a practical application of their lessons. Since healthcare professionals always practice health protocols, he said it should not be a problem teaching it to students. Panelo also pointed out that the University of the Philippines College of Medicine has resumed its face-to-face clinical internship at the UP Philippine General Hospital, or UPPGH. Meanwhile, following reports that the new UK variant of coronavirus was found in the Cordillera Administrative Region, or CAR, Panelo reminded the public to continue observing health and safety protocols. Panelo also encouraged the public to embrace the new normal. A resolution calling for a congressional inquiry into the rising pork prices has been filed at the House of Representatives. Marikina City Representative Stella Kimbo said the year-on-year inflation rate for meat rose to 9.95% in December 2020 from 8.15% in November. Kimbo noted that the 60-day price freeze imposed in November 2020 was unable to keep prices from increasing. Kimbo said the investigation would also evaluate the effectiveness of the measures undertaken by the government to curb and resolve the pork crisis. Agriculture Secretary William Dar earlier said the country is experiencing a calamity due to soaring prices brought about by cases of African swine fever, successive typhoons, and potential price manipulation among traders and resellers. Pork prices in Negros Occidental have increased as the outbreak of African swine fever, or ASF, continues to hit the hog industry in Luzon. More on this and other news from the provinces from Joyce Cudis.
The outbreak of African swine fever in Luzon, which led to the increase in demand for pigs from other areas, has adversely affected the prices of meat products in Negros Occidental. According to the Provincial Veterinary Office, average prices of almost all meat products increased by nearly as much as 17 pesos per kilogram this week. The demand for pigs in Luzon started to increase in October last year. Prices of meat products are expected to normalize in February. Meanwhile, livestock transport carriers and hog vans coming from areas affected by ASF are prohibited from entering Iloilo City if they could not present their disinfection certificate from their point of origin or port of exit. Executive Order No. 9 Series of 2021, signed by Iloilo City Mayor Jerry Trenias, banned the entry of the said carriers if they came from Luzon, Visayas, Eastern Visayas, and other provinces with ASF, if they have no certificate from the Department of Agriculture. Local pork meat sold in various markets is also being monitored because they pass through the slaughterhouse. In other news, the Leyte provincial government is pushing for the construction of a laboratory to test if pigs are infected with ASF. Under the proposal, the national government will finance the construction of the laboratory on a lot provided by the provincial government. Leyte Governor Leopoldo Dominico Petilla also suggested to the Agriculture Department to design a system that even with the existence of the ASF virus, no swine will be culled. Local authorities started the culling of pigs on January 14 after 4 pigs in a Buyog town tested positive for the highly contagious virus, the first case detected in the Visayas. For the PNA Newsroom, I am Joyce Goodies.
In our business news, the International Monetary Fund improved its forecast for world gross domestic product growth this year compared to its October estimates. Analysts expect the growth rate of world GDP will be 5.5% this year from 5.2% in the October forecast. In 2022, the IMF expects 4.2% growth. Last year, the world economy declined by 3.5%, while experts expected that by the end of 2020, global GDP would fall by 4.4%. Prices for other commodities are also expected to increase, with the strongest growth anticipated in 2021 for metal prices. Up next, the government has issued a diplomatic protest over China's new Coast Guard law. And a delivery man of a known shopping platform ended marrying one of his customers. The PNA Newsroom returns after these reminders.
Alamin ang tamang paraan ng pag-ubo upang mapigilan ang paglaganap ng coronavirus disease 2019. Ugaliing magdala ng panyo o tissue. Kung uubo o babahing, takpan ang buong ilong at bibig gamit ang panyo o tissue. Kung walang dalang panyo o tissue, maaaring gamitin ang braso na pantakip. Kung nakararamdam na kailangan umubo o bumahing, agad na dumistansya sa mga tao sa paligid. Huwag dumura kung saan-saan, gumamit ng tissue at itapon sa basurahan. Ugaliin ang paghuhugas ng kamay at paggamit ng alcohol o hand sanitizer upang mamatay ang mikrobyo. Basta't sama-sama at laging handa, kaya natin to! Isang paalala mula sa DOH, PCOO, KBP at ng himpilang ito.
The Department of Foreign Affairs has issued a diplomatic protest over a new Chinese law that allows the China Coast Guard to fire on a foreign vessel believed to be trespassing. Foreign Affairs Secretary Teodoro Locsin Jr. said the specific law can be likened to a verbal threat of war to any state who would defy it. The move risks an escalation of tension in the contested South China Sea among claimant countries. Despite a 2016 arbitral ruling disregarding China's 9-dash line over the South China Sea, the Asian supermover continues to claim almost 80% of the waters. Earlier, security expert and president of the Philippine Association for Chinese Studies, Romel Banlawi, said Manila should increase its presence in the contested waters and develop its capability to patrol the area. Police personnel and community stakeholders in Socsargen planted around 35,000 tree seedlings on Tuesday in a massive tree planting activity. Brigadier General Michael John Dubria, Director of the Police Regional Office 12, said the activity is part of their continuing enhanced community engagement program. He said all police units in the region's 4 provinces and 4 cities took part in the simultaneous tree planting in selected sites within their areas of responsibility. The seedlings comprised species of indigenous trees like lawan and nara, as well as various fruit-bearing and plantation trees like guyabano and coffee. Dubria said the trees planted in these areas, which are previously influenced by the communist terrorist New People's Army, were intended to help provide livelihood to its residents. In our foreign news, U.S. President Joe Biden on Tuesday signed a memorandum condemning the surge of anti-Asian racism in the country during the COVID-19 pandemic. According to the document, the pandemic response from federal health authorities should demonstrate cultural competency, language access, and sensitivity. The memorandum orders federal agencies to look into whether discriminatory rhetoric like Chinese virus is referred to in any existing policies or federal websites published by the previous administration. Biden also issued guidance for the Department of Justice on how to further prevent hate crimes and harassment against these racial groups. The memorandum is part of a series of executive orders regarding racial equity and civil rights signed by Biden. In sports, fans remembered the late basketball legend Kobe Bryant on his first death anniversary. World Basketball's governing body FIBA posted a video on Twitter to show Bryant's dedication to the game. Turkish Basketball Federation President Hidayet Turkoglu, basketball giant Fenerbahce Beko, and Italian football club AC Milan paid tribute to him also. Bryant was considered one of the top shooting guards in NBA history. He won the Most Valuable Player award in 2008 along with 2 Finals MVP awards in 2009 and 2010. The 18-time NBA All-Star led the Lakers to win 5 NBA titles. Separately, Bryant helped U.S. national team win 2 Olympic gold medals in Beijing 2008 and London 2012. Bryant and his 13-year-old daughter Gianna were among 9 people who died in a helicopter crash in California on January 26, 2020. A delivery man and a customer in Pangasinan found love and got married amid the pandemic. 33-year-old Marlon Cajucom met his wife Jason May Benito Cajucom when he delivered products to her residence in Barangay Poblacion, Asingan Town. Mary Grace Benito, mother of Jason, was a regular customer of Marlon when she introduced him to her daughter. Jason May said Marlon was different from her former suitors as he was caring and persistent, and he found time to be with her despite his busy schedule. Marlon and Jason May got married on Tuesday in a simple ceremony led by Asingan Town Mayor Carlos Lopez Jr. They hope to get married in a church ceremony since they could not invite their friends and families due to the pandemic. Here's another look at today's biggest stories. Vaccine Czar Secretary Carlito Galvez and Health Secretary Francisco Duque said they are willing to get the first shot of COVID-19 vaccines. A former youth rebel attacks UP professors in the recruitment of students in CPP-NPA. The government has issued a diplomatic protest over China's new Coast Guard law. And a delivery man of a known shopping platform ended up marrying one of his customers. Thank you for watching another episode of the PNA Newsroom. To check more news content, visit our webpage or head onto the Philippine News Agency's Facebook and Twitter accounts. For more stories about the government and how it serves Filipinos, look for these hashtags in all of our social media platforms and websites. We are shown on the pages of the PCOO and its attached agencies. Also, watch us on television on PTV4 and IBC 13. And that's your daily dose of the biggest stories that you need to know. From the PNA Newsroom, we tell stories that inspire change. I am William Theo. Good day.